Solar energy stocks are getting absolutely crushed. Sunrun shares are down 39%. Enphase has dropped 23%. SolarEdge is down 34%. And shares of First Solar are down 18%. Now, these are not the only companies that are going to be impacted by the bill that is going through Congress right now. That is the reason there's such a big reaction in the market. I'm going to get to some of those details, but this bill could have a huge impact on the economics of all these companies in solar, wind, energy storage, electric vehicles. Everyone is likely to be impacted. So if this passes, as it's currently going through the Senate right now, it already passed the House of Representatives, so there's still some negotiations to be had. This could have a huge impact on these companies going forward. So let's dig into it. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. Thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. If you go to fool.com/ASYM, they'll give you their top 10 stocks to buy right now. Let's go through what's being reported right now. And this is developing. This came out late last night because the draft bill came out of the Senate committee. Get to some of those details, but the proposal is that there's going to be a full phase out of solar and wind energy tax credits by 2028. Now, in solar anyways, these were a investment tax credit, ITC. That means if you invest $100, you get a credit on your taxes for those $100. So you might save 30% or so. That is the way that those are structured. Wind has used a production tax credit. There's all kinds of different schemes that go on. Energy storage, are you subsidizing the battery production and where cells are assembled? And then there's an investment tax credit on top of that. But in solar anyways, the ITC is really what is under threat. There is also a proposed extension through 2036, and there's, I believe, a phase out starting in 2032 of hydropower, nuclear, geothermal energy, and I believe energy storage is included in this as well. So not cutting everything, but cutting a lot of renewable energy, in particular wind and solar. This is from Energy Storage News, and the big thing that they're reporting is that energy storage would be included. The phase out would begin in 2032. With 100% of the credit until, and then 2033, 75% in 2034, 50% in 2035, and falling to zero in 2036. Now, that's so far out that it is likely that some of those subsidies would change between now and then. But this would be, nuclear would be the big thing, and then energy storage is the other piece of the energy picture that has been growing at a really rapid rate. The other piece is these EV tax credits. They will likely be ended as well. And this is something that has been widely reported, and this has been something that's already passed the House of Representatives. That would likely phase out about the end of this year, depending on what the details are. Now, for the companies involved, this is a huge impact, especially for installers like Sunrun. The investment tax credit was one of the ways that they were able to pay for these projects. They were able to generate revenue up front, and that meant that they didn't have to use their own balance sheet to actually finance these projects, despite the fact that they were generating long-term revenue from the contracts that customers are actually signing to pay for these projects. Because they just sold those investment tax credits, and that paid for a big chunk of that upfront investment, and then they were able to securitize the rest of those long-term payments. That's the financing structure that they have used. If this investment tax credit goes away, that is likely not going to be available for them. For a manufacturer like First Solar or for Enphase or for SolarEdge, that means that end market demand is going to be down for them. That puts pressure on their revenue, is going to likely put pressure on their margins as well. And these were companies that were not doing particularly well in the first place. Demand, especially for First Solar, I've covered this a little bit on Asymmetric Investing. Demand for future projects was not really increasing because there was uncertainty about what these subsidies were going to be, particularly in the US. And then if rules around imports or subsidies for the production of solar panels were going to remain, that put a lot of uncertainty in the market. So the company's backlog has not been growing in the way that you would expect as they've shipped more and more products as production in the US has increased. Some of those same pressures are hitting Enphase and SolarEdge. If Sunrun doesn't have demand, they're not going to be buying those pieces of equipment from Enphase and SolarEdge. So this was a rising tide lifts all boats kind of a story for the last few years. The opposite is happening now. And this could be a long-term trend because it's going to be likely at least another 4 years until these laws or subsidies are changed. And by then, it may actually be too late for some of these companies. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Now, the one company that I haven't talked about here that could have a huge impact is Tesla. Tesla's one growth story over the past couple of years has been energy storage. Energy storage has been a massive grower for the company and has actually increased in margins. But the secret behind that energy storage growth is subsidies. They're actually importing most of their batteries or the cells from China, and then they're assembling them here. So they get low-cost product from China. They assemble it. They get a subsidy for doing that. That's part of the Inflation Reduction Act. And then there are subsidies related to installing that energy storage as well. So they benefit on multiple layers. If any of those subsidies go away, that's going to impact Tesla's financials. On top of that, you have the $7,500 EV tax credit. That is going to be a direct hit to their revenue and what they're able to charge for vehicles. So the impact is going to hit Tesla. It's going to hit Rivian. It's going to hit Lucid. All of these companies are likely to suffer. We're seeing the big impact in the market today from solar stocks, but this is going to extend to electric vehicle companies, to installers, to utilities, basically everybody that touches the renewable energy industry. This is not going to kill the industry. We've gone through these cycles before, but it does mean that the economics of a lot of these companies is likely to suffer. So it's very possible that over the next 4 or 5 years, the industry overall is going to grow. The amount of solar or wind or energy storage is going to increase, but the profitability and stock market value of the companies involved does not increase, and some of them may even have to be restructured or go through bankruptcy. That's the real threat for a lot of these companies, because we've seen this in these cycles before. When your economics deteriorate because your subsidies go away and you were relying on those subsidies to drive your growth, it puts you in a really hard position. So this is not an area that I'm trying to time the bottom. I want to see exactly what's going to pass, what the economics of these businesses are going to be, because I think renewable energy absolutely is the future, but what are the economics going to look like? And what does that growth trajectory look like? Because if the ultimate story is that utility prices are going to have to rise to drive demand for these cheaper sources of new energy, that story is going to take a while to play out. So I think that's ultimately what will happen. Doesn't mean that everybody will survive to get there. So be wary out there in renewable energy. You don't necessarily want to time the bottom. There should be a future for some of these companies, but we need to know who's going to be able to get over the next couple of years first. But let me know what you think about the dip in solar stocks today, or the crash, I should say. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.